So, hello everybody. This is my interviewee. Name your name.
Oh, Stevie Moore.
Her name is Stevie. And so the first question that I have, nice to meet you. And the first question that I have for you is, how has school affected you in a positive way?
School creates it helps me create good relationships with my friends. That's one of the main reasons why I like going to school, is seeing all my friends and seeing all the teachers that I have become friends with over time. And obviously it helps me learn. It keeps me smart, period.
Okay. Okay, very good. So when did you start realizing that education was important to you?
Education has always been important, especially in my family unit, because they believe that education is everything. Education comes first, school comes first. You have to get good grades, and obviously it is important to your future and whatnot.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so what would you do if education was an option? So if it wasn't an option, would you go? If it was, would you go to school, or would you not?
So if it was an option, I think it's hard. I would go to school. Honestly, to make sure I have a better future. Even though there are days where I'm ugh, I don't want to go to school. But honestly, school is the reason why I have a social life, and school is the reason why I can be accepted into good colleges and have a good future.
Okay, very good. Okay, so lastly, if you didn't know how to read or write, would you still be successful in life?
Honestly, you never know. There are people who grow up in bad situations where they don't get schooled, and they still become very successful and very wealthy. But a lot of the people who do not have education often don't have bright futures, or don't end up doing something incredible. So for me personally, I think that I would fight to get educated, to fight to have a good future. So yeah.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so hello everybody. So today I'm gonna be interviewing my principal, Mr. Ramirez. So thank you for being part of my interview.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so the first question that we have for you is, why did you want to become an educator?
I wanted to become an educator pretty early on. I'm going to say it was maybe 8th grade year. I saw the impact that teachers had on students. I felt that was always going to be an avenue for me to be able to have a role, a job where I could actually work with young people, make a difference, make an impact. Sometimes that's pretty cliche, but it's true. So I would say it happened on very early on for me, and then I just pursued it.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, so the second question is, how has teaching the youth affected your life?
I think the biggest part is, and maybe I don't see it with current students a lot of times, it's usually our graduate students that have, come through our system here in ECISD. I think the biggest difference is helping students achieve their dreams, helping students become successful. For me, I think the biggest joy that I've received is just when I see them around town and then they greet me, they have that respect for you as an educator. And it's always Mr. Ramirez, or, they make a point to say hi. And especially our graduates, I think they leave and they have an appreciation for the education they had here. And so it's an honor, really. It's something that nobody can take away from you. It's something that you have your last name, right? And then you have your impact, what you decide to do professionally. So personally, it's been an honor for me. It's kind of just been a calling.
Okay. Thank you. So, the third question is, if people didn't know how to read or write, how would it affect the future of society?
If we didn't read or write, we wouldn't have problem-solving skills. I think we would just not know a vision. We wouldn't have a plan. I think it's ingrained in everything we do today. Even in my job, when I come in, I have to make sure I'm up to date with emails. There's a lot of reading and writing. As I'm growing and evolving as a campus principal, I have to read books and be afloat on current trends and what research is showing and how to do my job more effectively. So without those skills, we would just be at a very basic, simple level. I don't think we would ever advance as professionals, just as human beings.
Yeah. Okay, so how has literature affected your life?
Literature has affected my life in big ways. I think I really saw it more in college, not so much in high school. I wasn't necessarily pushed very far as a high school student. I think I did a lot of that kind of just on my own. You know, I wanted to take early admission classes before dual credit was kind of the thing. And so it was important for me to get a head start in college. It was kind of my decision to take even advanced courses. But even so, I really wasn't pushed to really advance in literacy until I was a college student. And so I was actually a history major, which requires a lot of reading, a lot of writing. And then my minor was in geology, a science, which was also reading intensive and a little bit more hands-on, you know, but still reading was a big part of what I was studying. So I would say for me, as a college student, it helped me be successful. And then now as a professional, I mean, I can't do without it. You know, I have to be able to read and write, and then also seek out literature that's out there that's going to help me grow professionally.
Wow. Okay, so the last question is, how is literature used in current day society?
So in current day society, I think we have different mediums now, right? It's not just paperback books anymore. Now we have it in the form of ebooks. We have it in the form of websites. I think now it's even more accessible than ever. Before you'd have to go to a library, you know, pick out a book. Now you just type it in Google. You know, a lot of it is, you know, just open to the public now, or you can just order something and they'll bring it to your doorstep. And so it's just a part of who we are now, even more so, I feel, than ever before.
Hi.
Hello.
So I'm assuming that your children and I go to school to learn about multiple subjects and doing different activities.
Yes, they do.
But I do notice that some of us are struggling with one subject, but some handle it well. And I'm assuming that the subject is literature.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions about it.
Okay.
Do you think that literature is kind of a hard subject for your children?
I don't think it is for them. I think they're doing pretty good so far.
Okay. So what will happen if one of them are doing well, but then they struggle on something? Do you think that you could do something to help them?
Yes, I think I will try to help them, and if I can, I will probably find somebody that can help them with the subject they're struggling with.
So about literature, do you think that it is important?
I think it is very important because it helps them on whatever other subject they do in school, and they're gonna help in the future in their jobs. It's gonna help a lot. So I think it's very important for them to learn that subject.
So in case that you couldn't find any other adults that your children need so that they could do better in literature, do you think that you could help them?
Yes, like I said, if I can help them, I will find somebody more professional that knows more about that subject to help them out.
So, one last question.
Okay.
Would you be proud of them if they do well in literature?
Yes, and I'm really proud of you and Miley, because I know you guys are doing really, really good in school, and especially in this subject. I struggle a little bit in that subject in school, so I'm really proud that you guys are not struggling like I did. So I'm really, really proud of you guys.
Well, thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome, Tito.
By other questions, how do you plan to make the school system better?
So I plan on making it better by just making people, like the school I go to, we're really focused on like education and going to the next level of getting a higher education. And so I just think that it's just built into our school system to just want to do better and, you know, get a better education. So yeah.
Wow. So do you think the school system is falling because of one of the subjects that some students are struggling with, such as literature?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like every student has their flaw and like a subject that they aren't, you know, really good at. So yeah, I can see that. but I do feel like us as a school system can, better, help them understand.
So what do you think the students can improve in literature?
I feel like they can improve in like punctuation and I like actually writing and getting better at English and knowing how to make a sentence or an essay. But yeah.
So there's one last question I'm going to ask. So if the teachers are able to help the students to improve literature, now they will understand?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like teachers can always push and try to help a student get better at literature and learning how to read and write. But it's kind of up to the student to put in the effort to want to get better. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for the illustrations.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye, y'all.
Should subjects of reading and English be increasingly enforced in the curriculum to students in order to perform well? If so, why?
Yes, I do. I do believe that there should be increasing curriculum with their English and the reading, because it's supposed to help our learners become college, career ready. And the way they're going to do that is if they're going to be reading academic texts, they're going to be analyzing those texts, they're going to have to be explaining. And so in order for that to happen, we have to, as curriculum, increase the rigor for them to accomplish that. Mm-hmm.
And so what are the changes that could be made in the school curriculum or the ECISD or the community to make students engaged with reading and English?
Okay, so engagement is a big part of what the curriculum should help the learners become connected with the world. Is basically like bringing magazines, CDs, books that they're interested in, or maybe like sometimes like have where they can have like a connection with the text. Become active readers. Maybe they can empathize with what's happening in the book and connect it with the real world, and maybe changes could be made possibly in their lives, or maybe like if they're trying to follow a path and they read a book and then something that changes, they may decide, oh, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to be a teacher, because that the book maybe caused them to be interested in it. So I think that's the part of the connection.
Oh, okay, very good. And so how does a student who's competent in literature perform in the workplace or university compared to a student who is not?
Okay, so it has to do again with the previous, we talked about analyzing text, explaining, discussing, because you have to be an active reader. You have to become active in the reading process. So if there are readers that they're not readers, how are they going to analyze text?
Oh, okay.
How are they going to collaborate? So here at NTO, you as learners are reading text, but then you're collaborating with each other, and then basically also how to write. How are you gonna, like if a boss gives you a prompt or gives you a memo, how are you going to respond to that?
Oh,
So
okay,
you're
I
gonna
understand.
so how are you going to do that professionally with using the vocabulary, building your vocabulary? So a lot of it has to do with building your vocabulary, and then just collaborating. That's a big piece right now with everybody is collaborating. We as facilitators collaborate with each other. We read text, we have book studies, and then we have to bring our ideas and how analyze it, discuss, and explain what's going on.
So the entire ECISD district really emphasizes literature, reading, and English to push students ahead, is what you're saying?
Yes, I am. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, and it starts in the it starts in the pre-K. We have to start in pre-K and get the little learners to enjoy the reading, get them to enjoy, so they can be lifelong readers, which makes them lifelong learners.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Based on Dr. Murray, the superintendent of the ECISD district, and instructional specialist Mrs. Granado, both in Both analytic accounts suggest that there is a grave problem that resides in the rates of student literacy in the ECISD area. Both professionals and I reside with the problem that the majority of students within the ECISD are not hitting the standard bar in terms of testing with the inclusion of poor assessment scores. Based on both accounts, I formulate my opinion on the matter that the problem of not achieving a high rate of literacy in reading and English do not reside in the ECISD district itself, but in the community of households that raise the future students and professionals towards a modernizing world. Underperforming scores of literary competence in school, based on both experts' incredible research, point to go as far back as pre-K and kindergarten, where toddlers do not develop key skills for reading intensity at the point of crucial growth periods of the human brain. In terms of getting a child on track for educational success, we propose that change starts in the households of our community. Helping young children develop their reading and vocabulary skills sets up a strong foundation for future students to succeed.
All right, so Superintendent Scott Murray, would you please explain to me or to the audience what do you do?
So I'm the superintendent of Ector County ISD. Superintendent is the individual responsible for really the operations of the entire school district. So I report to our board of trustees, but I'm the person charged with educating the 34,000 kids that are at ECISD and then leading the 4,200 employees that we have.
Tough job, isn't it?
Oh, it's a fun job, love it.
Okay, that's good. And so we're going to move on with our first question here. Because you overlook the academic progress of Ector County, ECISD, what can you describe the testing rates in English and reading? And if you don't have a specific estimate, just can you tell us estimate what it would be?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about the literacy rates in our organization. Kind of tell you a story. So when kids come to ECISD kindergartners, we have an assessment that we give to kindergartners we test what we call their kindergarten readiness. Are the kids that are 5 years of age, are they ready to be successful in kindergarten? And today in our district, 65% of the kids that enter ECISD are not ready for kindergarten. And so from a literacy perspective, our kids, there are some basic skills that even a kindergartner needs to be successful, and 65% of the kids in our system today don't have those skills to be successful at the elementary level. In fact, you'll find this interesting. We have had to add to the number of speech and language pathologists in our district. And those are individuals that help kids that are not speaking correctly or have difficulty with speech patterns. And the reason we've had to hire so many of those folks is because we have 5-year-olds that are starting kindergarten unable to speak. No one is talking to them at home, and they actually are 5 years old and they've never learned how to speak yet. Wow. And so when you think about literacy, imagine a 5-year-old that cannot speak. Well, reading and writing kind of are closely related to those literacy skills. So we have a lot of kids that are not ready. When we move on to 3rd grade in our system today, we see that 66% of the kids in the area of English are falling behind. So they're reading below grade level in the 3rd grade. That's 66% of our kids. So well below. It's unfortunate for our kids. And then when we get to middle school, we look at 8th grade, 68% of our 8th graders are reading below grade level. And when we get to high school, we're looking at 70% of our kids that are performing below grade level in literacy. And so it's an alarming problem in our system and something that we have to address.
Oh, so it keeps increasing.
The gaps between kids that are performing at grade level and kids that are not continues to increase in our system as kids get older, yes.
Wow,
yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep.
And so what are the actions that could be done by the community or ECISD that can bolster academic performance and the subjects of literature or literacy in general?
So as we think about literacy, it starts really from the time a baby is born. In fact, you'll find this interesting. Between birth and 4 years of age, 85% of your brain develops. Mm-hmm. And so what happens between birth and the age of 4 is really important in the life of our kids. And one of the things that we're doing as an organization is we are expanding pre-K. So our pre-kindergarten programming, starting in August of 2020, every child that lives in Ector County that is eligible to attend pre-K is going to have a full day pre-K experience. And then in the year 2021, we're going to expand that to 3-year-olds. So we're making a big investment in the early literacy of our kids to make sure that as your brain is developing, that you're reading, writing, listening, and speaking and communicating effectively. So we're doing some things in the younger years. In elementary school, making sure that you as students have access to really high quality curriculum. So the books that you read and all the materials that you use with your teacher, that they're high quality and rigorous. And then making sure that all of our teachers are well trained, so that well trained teachers using really great curriculum will help that as well. And that's not only elementary school, but as we move into middle school and high school, making sure that we have really great resources for you as students, and then making sure that our teachers have the kind of development that they need to be really great teachers for you all.
So it's a joint effort.
Multifaceted approach, it is,
Okay.
because literacy is just critically important as you all enter adulthood and life. You know, the ability to read and write and communicate effectively is a significant skill, and we have to make sure that we're developing that skill within our review.
Yes, sir. And so, because you mentioned, the ways we can improve the literacy rate throughout the grade levels and throughout a child's lifespan, I want to ask you a question. Should subjects of reading and English be increasingly emphasized in a more forceful approach, less electives and more geared towards reading rigor and performance in order to perform, exceedingly well?
I think an opportunity that we have in middle school and high school is certainly provide some high quality, elective options, yes, but it really starts with making sure that the courses that you are taking, that we have great literacy resources. So if you're in an English class, that you have really great literature in which to access, and that your teachers receive the supports that they need and the resources they need to be really successful. But we also need to understand that reading, literacy, writing, speaking, communicating, all of those skills happen in courses other than just English. In a science class, you also have to have the ability to read, and you should be reading in science. You have to, in mathematics, not only are you using numbers, but you're actually reading equations, you're writing essays in a math class, in social studies, in music, and in art, in all of the elective courses that you have. Literacy is a part of those courses as well. And so that's the piece that we should be emphasizing, is how important literacy skills are into every class that you're already taking. I don't think we need to create new courses or necessarily, emphasize English courses, but more emphasizing the importance of literacy in every class that you take within the elementary, middle, and high school.
Okay, so it's throughout the core.
Absolutely.
And so, what would the benefits be if the community and ECISD increase literacy, throughout students in education?
You get all the benefits. And so every kid that graduates from high school is going to be the beneficiary of improved literacy skills. So you will be more effective at reading, you will be more effective at writing, more effective at speaking and listening and just communicating in general. You'll be better equipped to be successful in those areas, which ultimately makes you more successful in life. Here's another statistic that I think would help with. So today in ECISD, we look at our high school graduates and then what happens to them once they leave us. How many of our students, what percentage of our kids enter a technical program, a 2-year college, a 4-year college, or the military? We kind of monitor those numbers. And then how many of those kids, once you enter, how many of you finish successfully so you complete one of those areas? And today in our district, only 6.5% of our students are successfully completing a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, 4 years of service in the military, or a technical certification. So we have a lot of work to do. And one of the reasons that some of your peers aren't as successful as they could be is because of those communication skills, those literacy skills. And the more we emphasize those in elementary, middle, and high school, then the more successful you and your peers are going to be in life. And that's our goal, is for you to be as successful as you can be, so that you can do whatever you want when it comes to your career.
Wow, 6%. It's actually astonishing looking at that number.
It's a very low number, yes it is.
And so, if you can provide a little bit to go into more detail, how does a student who's competent in literacy throughout all subjects perform in a workplace or university compared to a student who is not?
Well, we have some interesting data not only in ECISD but just across the state of Texas. We can, our kids that go to a technical school, a 2 or 4 year, we can actually find out how well they're doing, what percentage of our kids are taking remedial courses when they go to college. So imagine going to college and in your first year, you, rather than taking courses that accelerate your movement through college so that you can finish in 4 years, you have to spend your entire first year taking remedial courses because you weren't successful in mathematics or in literacy or in other academic areas. And today we see that many of our kids that go on to college start their college career by taking remedial courses because they weren't quite ready for school. And we know that the more work we do with you all while we have you, the more successful that you will be when you enter the college environment, the higher education, the post-secondary environment, and then successful in life. And when I do job interviews, so when I'm looking for a new employee, I bring an employee into my office and for an interview, and I expect that individual to be able to communicate effectively with me, to look me in the eye when we're talking, to be able to articulate their thoughts really clearly so that I can understand what they have to say. I expect our employees to be very literate, to read so that they can improve their skill set. I'm a reader. In order for me to become a better superintendent, I pay attention to what happens in my own industry. Education is always changing. And so I, as a superintendent, read a lot of literature to make sure that I'm keeping up with what's happening today so that I can do a better job for you. But when that employee comes in and I do an interview, I'm assessing their literacy skills. I may not have them read something in front of me, but I'm going to know if they are well read. I'm going to know if they're able to articulate their thoughts and ideas clearly. I'm going to know what kind of thinker they are. And many of those skills come from elementary, middle, and high school reading and literacy experiences. There's great evidence that says that the more we read, the better our mind works, the more we understand the world in which we live. And so clearly, if we're not readers, if we're not individuals that are doing a good job of reading, then our view of the world is much more limited. And so reading really opens up worlds. It opens up your mind, which opens up your mind to what's happening in our world. So critical skill.
Oh, wow. Well, that is all the questions. Again, we want to really thank you for providing this valuable information to us. Hope we see you again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.